Okay, so got a lot, more or less everybody is joining in now. That's great. Okay, that's great. So let's start off. I've got pretty much everyone, more or less everyone on the session today, which is great. Thank you so much for joining. And good morning to everyone. Just to make you aware of just a few small housekeeping tips. If you're not asking any questions, and obviously in order to reduce background noise, my session will be to keep your microphones muted. By all means, when you're participating in the discussion, please unmute your microphones and contribute, which is going to be useful because this task is all about being able to reflect on your own academic progress. And I presume most of you would be keen on obviously sharing a few bits in terms of what progress you've made. So let's start off with this particular discussion today with regards to, if I just bring this up in front of me, which is the learning outcome 6 that we are covering today. And it is discussing 2 assessment criteria, but the main overarching discussion for the topic today, or the discussion for during our session, is to be able to reflect our own academic progress. Now, in order to do a bit of reflection on our academic progress, what we need to be able to do is we should have completed LO1, essentially, in which you had 3 particular tasks, and this has been completed would allow you to go about and do the reflection, or maybe a reflection on your academic progress. So the first thing in learning outcome 1 was to focus on understanding your own academic competence in terms of how to conduct research, and obviously looking at in the assessment criteria, we were primarily focused on understanding how do you understand what are your English language skills. So we suggested, and I suggested essentially that when you look at assessing your academic strengths and weaknesses, the first thing that you need to be able to do is go and do a proficiency test on the British Council website. And that proficiency test that you must have done, what I'd asked you to do is basically take a screenshot of it, and that screenshot would essentially then allow us to ascertain that what is your level of competence as far as the English language is concerned. So when I did that particular test, I just, and as you can see, when we did a screenshot of the test that I did, essentially you would see that I came across as a B2 upper intermediate. That means IELTS equivalent of 6.5 my English speaking and reading and listening and writing. This is an evidence that you would basically be looking at doing to show your English language skills. So this is a free test that you can do on the British Council website. There's a link included for this particular test in the first learning outcome presentation. When you complete your test, you will be asked, first of all, you'll be asked to register. It's a free registration. They will send you a link on the email. When you click on that link, you will be taken back to the website. And when you are back into the website, you'll be looking at doing a multiple choice question answer test, which will essentially take no more than half an hour for you to complete. Once you complete, it will give you a result, and that result is what you need to take out as a screenshot and save it, which shows your English language proficiency. The second bit, which I'd asked most of you to do, was to do your SWOT analysis. And the SWOT analysis was primarily related to, understanding your strengths and your weaknesses. We are not focusing on opportunities and threat, although the template which I've shared with you essentially has all 4 of them, but because the assessment criteria, it is only asking us to assess our academic strengths and weaknesses. So here we are going to be limiting ourselves to looking at your English proficiency, English language and reading skills. So we're going to be looking at essentially understanding your Harvard referencing skills and how you look at the process of writing. When you write an essay, when you write a report, so what are your skills on writing side? So what you need to do is identify your strengths and identify your weaknesses. Some of you who are new to Harvard referencing might be putting it as a weakness, because you would say that I do not have enough knowledge on Harvard referencing. So you would need to then look at putting some activities in place, and they would then help you form up a what is called a target sheet. So write down some personal/professional strengths and weaknesses. You cover this with this particular template. And then there was another template which was shared, which was called the skills audit template. And because what we have to do is rank our skills in terms of our ability, in terms of our competency to read and write and speak, a level of English, competency in academic writing, competency in IT skills. So what I'd done was I'd shared this particular template with you, which is called a skills audit template. This is a template which generally employers or various agencies use, including universities, when you take admission, to understand what are your skills on organization of learning, how do you seek information, how you do reading and note-taking, what are your writing skills, your spoken English communication skills, your use of technology, working with numbers is basically numeracy or maths, and then your exam. So I have put in a lot of different types in which you need to go in and actually do what is called a ranking system. And this ranking system that you would follow would primarily be looking at ranking your skills from 3 levels. Beginner. So we looked at what is called beginner's level, which is level 1. So if you rank yourself as 1 on a particular skill, that means it's beginner. That means you have basic knowledge. Then we look at intermediate, and that is level 2. So basically you're looking at ranking yourself as number 2, and then you say advanced, which is basically level 3. So when you rank your skills from 1 to 3, or you follow a ranking system which is given. So if you look at, number 1 is skills which are priority. That means they are very important for you, that you cannot work or do with these skills. And then you have skills that are going to be, say, quite important, and they are ranked as 2. So basically you're ranking it. And then the third is skills which you feel are not important or not required. So for example, in this case, when we are looking at this particular task, we have done our SWOT analysis. We have understood what are our weaknesses, but because we want to do this, so we want to broaden the task. That's why we included a couple of things like organization of learning, information seeking skills, which is to do with, the word research in terms of how do we conduct research. Then we've looked at some of the bits which we are going to use in this unit, like note taking, which was in learning outcome 3, writing skills, things like that. So you could rate your skills or rank your skills from 1 to 3. Once you do this ranking, essentially what will happen is you will again get, if you're ranking yourself continuously at level 1, that means rather than me put level, I would say rank as 1 or rank as 2 on a scale, and then rank as 3 on a scale. So if you're ranking yourself as consistently as 1, that means you need to develop these skills more, and they would then come across into what is called your SMARTS target template. Now, after this, what we did was we looked at what is called a SMART target template. And that SMART target template, if I just bring that across, was primarily looking at giving us an idea in terms of how would we look at, assigning targets to ourselves in terms of activities. So what we did was we look at this SMART target template, and if I just empty this up for a minute and look at just the basic part of the template. So if you see what SMART basically means is an acronym essentially, and that acronym essentially talks about being able to set objectives which will be achievable. So S stands for specific, M stands for measurable. We are looking at A for achievable, R for realistic, and T for time bound. Now, what are the objectives which are going to come here? They are going to come from your SWOT analysis, the weaknesses that you have, and when the skills audit has been done, when you've done the skills audit, anything that you've ranked at 1 would be essentially coming up in your smart targets. So here, one of the things which you could put it, for example, is that you want to look at developing. So if I put, say, I want to learn Harvard referencing skills. Now, what I want to do is I don't want the target to be generic. So here, because in the studies that we are doing, we are looking at essentially Harvard referencing, which is required as a system to be followed, the author date style referencing. So what I want to do is put Harvard referencing skill. This is a specific task. So I want to be able to do Harvard referencing while writing my assignments. So, for example, the specific task that we have taken is that I want to be able to do Harvard referencing or use Harvard referencing technique, and that's a very specific task. Now, how are you going to measure, that you are able to do this? So the measurements of Harvard referencing would come across from two types. One is when you use direct quotations, right? Direct quotes or direct quotations, if I put it this way. Second is in-text referencing. And the third is paraphrasing. So as long as you are able to learn that these are the three parameters which will help you learn and develop Harvard referencing skill, you have to be specific that these are the ones that I'm going to measure. Now, what does direct quote mean? When you bring up something like a definition, a framework, something which is you have to write as it is without altering or changing the meaning of the text and the way it has been presented by the original author, then in that case, you're going to use direct quotes. Now, in-text referencing tends to be when you're writing something which is very specific from, a particular paragraph or a particular chapter or from a particular section in a book, article, journal. So that is where you would use in-text referencing. And paraphrasing would be when you're reading something, but you're writing it in your own words without having to change the meaning, but you will still reference it. So these are things that you're going to look at in terms of measurement. Now, is this task achievable? So when you look at achievable, what you're going to be able to do is you're going to put a time, essentially, how are you going to achieve it? So here is where we will put activities to learn and develop Harvard referencing skills. So what kind of activities would you undertake? So these activities that you're going to undertake are going to be watch Harvard referencing video. Okay, to understand what is Harvard referencing, then you would also read a presentation on Harvard referencing, right? And the third would be what you're going to do is you're going to use a referencing generator site to be able to practice Harvard referencing. And this would be for books, things that you take from books, journals, articles, and website. There could be lots of other types of sources, but let's look at these four that you're going to practice. Now, what is it in terms of how are you going to be realistic in terms of the sources? So in this, I would say some part of this, I would basically put it here. And here it says achievable. Is the task achievable? Yes, the task is achievable. So yes, it is achievable, and you are going to, undertake some activities to learn and develop Harvard referencing skills, right? Now, you've listed down a few activities, and I would say here, I would put it this way, that using a referencing site or a reference generator, referencing, let's say, function in Microsoft Word. Okay, now realistically, you're going to be able to do this, yes. So what you're going to do is you're going to practice. So first is you're going to do a bit of practice using the reference generator site, and second is practice the use of author date style referencing while writing your assignments. Right now, in terms of how much time are you going to be spending on learning how to reference, so I would put it this way here, 3 to 4 weeks in terms of time frame, and this would essentially be one way to fill up your SMART target. So example one, develop and understand. So other way around, I would put it this way: understand and develop Harvard referencing skills. Now, this particular SMART objective says one of the objective. Now, if you have multiple objective in terms of weaknesses that you've got and you pick them up and you want to do another objective, you can then go on and fill this template up with a SMART objective, on page 2. So this would essentially be a second objective. So my suggestion in this case would be at least have 3 or 4 objectives that you're going to be able to use, and they are going to be defined in such a way using this SMART objective template. Now, once you've got your strengths and weaknesses, you've got your SMART objective template, you've got your skills audit template. So these 3 things, if I put this up across right now, so you did your SWOT first, then you did your skills audit, and then depending on the weaknesses and the ranking that you've done for your skills, what you then do is go about filling in what is called the SMART template. So this is the first part that you have done. This is the second part, and then this is the third part. So essentially, what has happened here is you've gone from here to the skills audit template. From the SWOT, you've gone to skills audit, and from here you've translated them into what are called SMART objectives using this particular template. Now, once this has been done, and you have got, I would suggest you need to have at least 3, SMART objectives in order for you to then go into and then discuss what is called the, the merit, let's say the merit, task. And this task talks about developing a plan to show how you're going to achieve the targets which have been set here, then using the SMART template. Now, there is so if I minimize these now, these are not required. So if I then go about and mention that using your SMART template, what you need to do then is to create what is called a PDP plan, which is the merit option given here. So if I put it this way, that those of you who are looking at doing the merit task would then look at developing what is called a personal development plan. This template, which I've shared, essentially is giving you a guidance in terms of how to make this plan. And then this is the plans, template, which I've shared, which allows you to understand that, okay, how you need to go about filling this template. So here, the template is having a number of columns, and those columns have some headings, which says, what are my development objectives? What is a priority? What activities do I need to undertake? What support and resources do I need to achieve these? What are the targets by which I'm going to achieve? And then if you have managed this, what you don't need to do is fill this last part up, because at some stage, when we then move to learning outcome 6, which is what we're going to be discussing today, we are looking at reflecting our academic progress. And this is where you will go back into the template and you do a bit of a review and say, okay, I had set a date for me to achieve my referencing skills by, say, 30th of October. I've not been able to complete all those activities and I still not feel confident. Then what you're going to do is actually extend your date of achieving those skills, and you'll say, okay, I will give it 15th November, and then come back and check again whether I've received my skills or achieved my skills to the level that I want. And this is what is going to then consist of what is called reflecting your progress. Now, for those of you, if your English level proficiency came out to be at B1 level or at the A2 level, A1 level, then you're looking at improving your English skills. So in those cases, what you need to then do is, when you look at downloading because you have created, an account on the British, Council website. What you would then do is when you look at this particular thing in terms of your test result, it is going to then give you further opportunities to be able to undertake the course and improve your specific skills. So it will give you a test background in terms of where your skills are lacking. Is it in the reading? Is it in the writing, speaking, or listening part? And then there are specific sections in this website which will allow you to improve your grammar, your vocabulary, your speaking skills, your writing skills, and that would be a good way to basically go about, filling this plan up. So here you would say, I would like to improve my academic writing skills. So when you put your academic writing skills, you put this as a priority because it is priority number 1 right now, because you need to be able to write academically for your assignments, which is using third person or third tone of voice, and then be able to reference in order to reduce or limit similarity. And this would be done by doing a number of activities. And then you put a target date of achievement, and then you look at a date for review, that whether you've been able to achieve those skills by such and such date or not. Now, if you've not been able to achieve those skills, that's fine. All you need to do is go in and extend that date, and maybe put down a few more activities that you feel you need to undertake to be able to, confidently say that I've achieved those skills in terms of referencing, being able to write academically, reference perfectly, and also it could be for IT skills, it could be for seeking information, conducting research, which is all based on the template of the skills audit template. So here, if you need to develop them further and you still feel that you haven't been able to do it, then there is this plan that you have to develop further. That means you have to add further activities to be able to develop this. And these activities then, when added to this particular sheet here, with definitive timelines and activities that you're going to undertake to be able to achieve this, would basically help in covering what is called reflection on your academic progress. So this is a be able to. That means you have to be able to do it as a practical exercise. And that is what we need to be looking at covering today in our discussion, provided you have, essentially done the first part methodically and in great detail, which will then allow you to complete this part of the task, which is learning outcome 6. And it is more about review than anything else. That means you're just doing a reflection or a review on what you have essentially done, and first identified as a weakness. That weakness has been listed down as broken down into targets. Those have been filled in on a SMART target template. And then once you know that these are the activities that I need to undertake under the SMART objectives, I would then go in and fill up and make a PDP or a personal development plan, and then follow that plan through for each of the activities. So here, if I put it this way, that when we looked at the SMART targets, each of the activities that you're doing, if I just bring you back to the screen. So when I look at the SMART template, and each of this activity that I'm doing, watch a video, you need to be able to populate that into your personal development plan. So if I just bring it back to the whole screen, just to make it relevant. So when I look at this, so if there are 3 activities that I've written, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these across. What activities do I need to undertake? This is the first activity. Then this is the second activity in a second row. And then using a site generation or trying it out on, Word, Microsoft Word, this is the third activity. And then what I would do essentially is put some targets down. What support do I need? So here I need to identify a detailed video on Harvard referencing system, HRS in short, to watch. Now, where will you get this from? You will get this from YouTube. Now, where would you get this on YouTube? If I go into, let's say, for example, the website, youtube.com, and go to UK Versity. And when you're on the UK Versity channel, I don't know how many of you have subscribed to the channel, so please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Click the subscribe button, because all your videos, presentations, and other bits are available here. So do definitely click on subscribing on the channel. Do a search for Harvard referencing video. And when you click on Harvard referencing video, this is a video which comes up. this is a video that you need to be able to watch, and this would help you reduce and understand why plagiarism is to be looked at, and how you're going to go about reducing it. So go into the YouTube channel, hit subscribe to the channel, and once you've subscribed, do a bit of a search, because there are lots of things that you will find on this which are related to your course. Now, each of this task. Now, the other one that I mentioned is I need to look at a Harvard referencing presentation. So how do I look at Harvard referencing presentation? I go to the log into my Moodle. And when I log into my Moodle, what I would do is essentially go into my course. And when I go into my course, there is a presentation that is available on what is called Harvard referencing. When I click on this, this is a document that you can read. So I can add this as another activity, which is a document on Harvard referencing. And then there is a presentation also, which you will be able to see. And let me just have a quick look. So this presentation, you should be able to, I'll upload this again on your side. This presentation is a detailed one, which basically shows you how to reference when you're looking at from books, how to reference when you're looking at it from journals, from electronic resources, what is a reference. We've looked at direct quotes and paraphrasing. These are all activities, and they will fill up your PDP template. Why do we need to reference? And obviously, in referencing, it is not that simple. So when we look at referencing, we look at referencing from one author, two authors, three authors, in-text referencing, direct quotes, so they are all explained in this particular presentation. And when you read all this and you go through all this, you are going to be then able to understand that this is how your personal development plan would be. Now, why is this important? Because all of you are looking at going to uni. You're looking at essentially taking admission into the first year. And then the reason why you need to do is because you need to be able to understand that how do you write assignments, how do you reference them, how do you reduce plagiarism, because these are things which are expected of you to be able to pick up and develop as skills at level 3, so that when you are in the first year of your uni, you are able to know all these skills and use them to be able to write your assignments and submit them professionally. Now, the bit which I wanted to obviously say is that if number of smart targets would mean that you're filling up your PDP, you're putting in the activities and resources down here, you're putting in a target date, and then you're reviewing it to say whether you've achieved it or not. If you've achieved it, that's fine, because personal development plan is always a working document. You keep adding things to it, you keep completing those activities, you keep achieving those milestones, and you keep adding new things that you are looking at putting in the document, which will help you, keep a track of your main activities that you want to achieve or skills that you want to develop over a point in time. Now, in my case, if I go about and obviously discuss and show you some of the activities that I do, and I have a PDP now, I have maintained it over the years, so it's a continuous working document. And you don't need to, change that document, just keep adding pages to it. And that tends to be a detailed document which could be used, when you're doing it from an employer's perspective. So if I show this in terms of how detailed the document is, just for an idea's sake, at some stage, start developing it now. Over the years, when you keep this document, you would see that it notes up into a 10-15 page document, because you're updating things on a daily basis. So if you see, I have been maintaining my CPD, the activities that I do, which helps me to teach better, and they have been reflected. And, a compilation of this has been done, from 2016 onwards. And I keep adding activities that I do. And this is like a continuous document, which I have primarily for the purposes of, maintaining my CPD. So CPD tends to be career professional development when you do it at a level wherein you're working. But at the current level as a student, it will be called a personal development plan. The reason why it is personal is because you only make it, you only complete it, you only review it, and it is something which is your working document. The moment it is reviewed by your manager, it is reviewed by somebody who you report into, then it becomes a career professional development document, or CPD. That's the difference. Now, in order to look at just quickly going through some of the bits that we need to cover for Learning Outcomes 6 for today's session, what I want to do is We want to look at reflecting our own academic progress. For those of you who want to look at this particular template, which has been, which I've shown earlier, which is the PDP and how it is reviewed, you can also go in and obviously look at this particular side of the template when you download the assignment brief. Now, when you look at the assignment brief, in the assignment brief, it also, what has happened is that ATHE has provided this as a bit of a template. And that is what I have picked up, as far as discussing with you is concerned. And this is something that we are going to look at when we do the assignment discussion next week on this unit. But generally speaking, when I look at the assignment brief, which I want to bring up on your screen as well, just to put it into context for today, you would generally see that this particular assignment brief also has the same template that we have taken for the purposes of discussion in terms of reflection. So if I scroll down on the assignment brief, what will happen is towards the end, you would generally see this particular template, which I have put in for you to be able to follow. So in this part, the first part is primarily this part, which I say the left-hand side of the template that we see first is the one that you end up doing in, the first learning outcome. So this is LO1. And this part of the template, wherein we do a review, from here, this part is basically LO6. So when we look at making this particular template that you make with LO1 activities, we use what is called, our strengths and weaknesses. We are using the audit template that I provided, the skills audit template that I showed you a bit earlier. And then what we've used is the SMART template, essentially to make sure that our goals that we put are specific, realistic, measurable, achievable, and time-bound. And these three are feeding into what is called this particular template that you see here, which is Learning Outcome 1. And this is called the PDP, Personal Development Plan. Now in Learning Outcome 6, we are basically using this template to do a reflection or a review. And that is where I put a date of review here, what progress I've made against the target, which was set as a SMART target, what further action is required, which is in terms of activity, and then what is the target date that I'm putting that I'll be able to achieve it. So everything is pretty much provided. And in this unit, you're looking at pretty much using, templates wherever it says be able to. So some of you, if you have seen, the unit and the unit specification, which I've shown earlier, what you would generally see is that the unit specification brief talks about, some of the targets as be able to. That means we have to go about doing it. And that is why it is be able to. So essentially speaking, only one part of the learning outcome, which is knowing and learning about research methods like primary and secondary, is a theoretical, task in this particular unit, but the others are all, you have to create the documents. You have to do the tasks to create your own documents or use the templates that we are providing, contextualize it, make them on your own, when I say make them on your own, I mean, you need to personalize them and then go about completing, the assignment. So this particular assignment can essentially be done as individual tasks. You might have 5 or 6 documents, and these 6 documents will all correspond to, each of the learning outcomes that we are studying, including the one that we are studying today, which is Learning Outcome 6. So let's go back quickly to the presentation and just go through some of the bits that we want to look at. So there are 2 bits here: reflect on your academic progress and develop a further action plan for improvement. Now, in this, if you have done, as I've mentioned, the things that I have suggested that we need to do, all you need to then go about doing is reflect on your own academic progress, what you've learned from this particular unit. To a certain extent, you could also include some of the bits that you've learned from this course, because this is the 3rd unit some of you are studying. What are the areas of improvement? And obviously, in some cases, you would be required to take feedback from me as your tutor, because they are a part and parcel of your oral feedback that you need to get which will help you achieve merit. And in some cases, you would be required to present it to an audience, which is the colleagues studying with you this particular course. And if they ask questions and you are able to present what you are doing in terms of your research report that you will compile and write academically for Learning Outcome 5, would help you achieve some part of it as distinction. Now, this is the bit that we want you to look at in particular, which is the format given. And using this, you have to be able to complete a review on the, on the progress that you have done with the activities that were set in Learning Outcome 1 after you did your SWOT and your skills audit, and then you set SMART targets. And then you basically go about reviewing your progress by filling up this template and the information that has been collected in those templates to be transferred over here to show a review or a reflection of what you have done so far as the targets or the goals which were set, and then how far have you been able to achieve them. So any questions on today's discussion? So this brings us to the end of today's discussion, because there are only 2 assessment criteria and they require you to do a reflection. So there's not much that we can do in terms of discussion. There's not much theory on this, provided you've done the first part, as I mentioned earlier, in a detailed way. You should be able to then start on with the Learning Outcome 6 and the reflective part of it, which is to look at filling and completing some of these tasks using the templates. So any questions on today's discussion? So if I just go one by one, any questions on this at your end, Ambrose? Any questions at your end, Madhu?
On my end, none, sir.
Okay, any questions, Ali? Any questions? So just an open session right now in terms of if there are any questions that anybody wants to look at. So I've got Ibrahim, Saeed, Nafisa, Nusrat, Ghazala, Rashida, Ikra, Sharmeen, Masood, Susan, Jefferson. Any questions, feel free to ask. So you should. So how would I go about doing the assignment and start this particular unit? You need to have access to these templates, without which you could use your own templates as well, not a problem. But essentially having some sort of a template to start your work would make things easier as far as coverage of this particular unit is concerned. So make sure you have downloaded the templates from Moodle for SWOT, skills audit, and also the PDP, and then the one which has been presented in this presentation, which is primarily a review of the PDP, so that you're able to copy and paste. So if I'm in your shoes and if I have to look at taking up this particular template, what I'm going to do is primarily copy this template, or use this is a picture that I put in. So obviously you won't be able to put and fill data in, but if the same thing has been created as a Word document, so what I would do is copy this like this, go into a new Word document. And if I just show this to you now, so basically create this by copying it from the PowerPoint presentation and then going to a new Word document and then pasting it here. So you could change the layout of the page to landscape to make it easier for you to have a good amount of coverage as far as the template is concerned. And then when you press the tab, you'll be able to add new columns or new rows essentially in this. And this basically is the review template that you would need to copy and paste into a Word document and do it. So pretty simple. If all you have to do is essentially make sure that you copy it from the PowerPoint and then go about putting it onto a Word document. So what I would do is look at this as an option, wherein what I would do is copy this, go into my Word document, open a new Word document and paste it. And then if you want to add rows, just click and use the tab key to add as many rows as required. Okay, so that's great. So in terms of if there are no more questions, I'm going to try and bring the session to an end today, because obviously it was a short one just to look at review and progress on your academic progress, which is with regards to learning outcome 1. And essentially this would mean that you should be able to now press ahead and look at, completing this part of the unit. Now, what I'm also going to do is just to quickly show this to you on Moodle so that you have access to pretty much everything in terms of the templates that I'm mentioning. If I just share the screen again. So this is the unit that we are doing. If you scroll down to the academic skills unit, which is under it's got a yellow outline. So here what we need to look at is, this is the skills audit template 1.2 in Word document, the SWOT analysis template in Word document. Then I'm also going to add, the PDP, as I mentioned right now, so that you have it as a Word document and you don't need to go about doing a lot of cut and paste. So let me just add this bit. So this is being added right now as a PDP template. So here we go. That's the PDP template. And that's what 1.1. So you have 1.1, you have the skills audit, you have the PDP. I'm also going to add the SMART template so that you're able to, essentially do this, what I've shown earlier. So let me just quickly format and then make it workable. So SMART objective 2, goal 2, then SMART objective 3, goal 3. So maybe have at least 2 or 3, goals, and that would, hopefully, make it easier for you to populate your PDP plan. If you have less than, 3 objectives, then, obviously it is going to make it slightly difficult to fill up your PDP plan, because you want that to have at least 4 or 5 rows. It can't be that you just have one target and, you have just one plan. That won't essentially work. So what I have done is, just to show you what I've done. So I am going to look at, this particular template, which I will show you, just I'm uploading right now. And this is the SMART template. So what I've done is, this is just an example. The first one, I put second goal that you can put here, and the third goal. And then obviously that would be, something that you would need to use, in order to be able to, fill this up. So I can put this across in 3 different pages so that you have 3 different objectives, as you can see, and they will nicely help you to populate, your PDP. So this particular template is what I also am going to upload, on Moodle, so that you have it, and they can be straight away downloaded and then used, for doing your developing your PDP. So 1.1 and SWOT audit, 1 skills audit, 1.2 is your SMART template, which is completing your task 1.2 as well. 1M1 is your PDP template, and then just looking at briefly, the review template, which I was showing you right now. I'm going to put that across a document as well, so that this is something that you have, for your task 6, and that would essentially be something again you can use primarily to, do your academic review. So if I just put this across, and this is the template which has been taken from, obviously assignment brief. And if I put this across now and show this to you, which is also available for you to be able to download and use pretty much as a standard, from, the Moodle. So just putting this across now. So if I show this to you again in a second, here we go. So this is the document that I will put. This is basically the template which is, suggested in the assignment brief. Yeah. And then a version of this, which is what you can use for your purposes to do the review, is available now in the Word document. This I will label as 6.1 and 6. So that you are able to use it pretty much off the shelf with regards to the review template, academic review or reflection template. So I'm going to put this again here and show this to you so that you are all able to access it on Moodle. And this is where it goes. Okay. So pretty much everything that we need to do as far as, the bits are concerned, have been put in. So what you would need to then do at some stage would be to go in and use some of these templates which are provided to be able to essentially, complete the learning outcome 6. And I'm uploading the presentation as well, which is what we have used today to discuss, so that you have access to this as well. There we go. Is that okay? Good stuff. So I will catch up with you next week and we'll do a quick discussion on the assignment brief. Until then, thanks so much for joining and take care. I'll see you next week.
Thank you, sir. Have a nice day.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye, sir.
Thank you. Have a nice day, sir.
You too. Thank you. Bye.